What is going on? Welcome inside the Red Mile Rundown, episode 37. It is draft week. We are excited to sit down and chat a little bit about the draft and more around the Calgary Flames. Of course, as always, I am John Easthope, host of the show. Alongside me, my co-host, Robert Munich. Robert, how are we after a very rainy weekend in Alberta?
Oh, God, yeah, that was miserable. Jesus, I'm happy that's over. But no, a happy draft week, happy free agency week. This is an exciting time of the year. I personally find like the NHL, like the business side of it, the player transaction trades, I just find this stuff fascinating. I almost find it more exciting sometimes than the on ice products. So this is like my Super Bowl. I'm very excited for this week.
Yeah, I love this stuff too. This is a lot of fun to dive into. I think this is my favorite week between now to the draft and into free agency. Is my favorite part of the calendar besides the on ice stuff. I think because we like to watch a lot of Flames hockey, that we get extra excited about this kind of stuff because the Flames always seem to be in the mix of moving players or being the next up on a trade block and those kind of things, and in the conversations of the top 10 of the draft. Like we cover a team that likes to be right in the thick of it all the time. It feels like, especially the last few seasons here. Before we dive into this draft talk conversation, Justin Kirkland has just re-signed with the Flames for 1 year, $900,000. Just instant reaction, Robert, from you. Your thoughts on the contract and the fit here with Calgary and Kirkland?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. I think Kirkland was more than an effective player last year. Like during his, I think he played about 20 or 21 games last year. During that time, he was literally like one of Calgary's like best, 7 or 8 forwards. If you take a look at the numbers and you watch him, like he was really good. So if he can kind of keep that type of play up next season, I think this is going to be an awesome deal for the Flames. But we also have to remember that he's in his late 20s. I think he's like 28 or 29 years old. He's coming off, significant knee surgery. So I don't know if it's 100% guaranteed that he gets back to that level next year, but that's okay because it's a 1-year deal. It's under $1 million. If it works, great. You're super happy. You could probably play as your fourth line center. If he comes to camp and he's just not quite at the same level he was last year, and the team wants to move on from him, they can throw him in the AHL with the Calgary Wranglers or put him on waivers. So I think it's a low risk signing, a little bit of upside there, and I'm totally okay with it. How about you?
Yeah, I like it. I love what you just said there, the low risk. Like this is a guy that had performed well and had some good moments with the Flames last season before that devastating injury that ended his season. This is a guy that could come in here and potentially replace Rooney on that fourth line, which would please a lot, if not all, Flames fans. He's a guy that can go play in the AHL if he doesn't quite have the NHL left in him. I quite like this one, along with the Drayden Hunt one earlier in the week as well, when they re-signed him. These are guys that, if they play in the NHL, they're fourth-line guys that could help your team, a little bit of depth to the organization, but guys in the American Hockey League that can be leaders for that group if that's where they end up playing as well. So low risk, I would say low reward as well, because it's really only a fourth-line role that we're talking about, but it's a nice signing, and what it's going to do as well is I'm a guy who enjoys internal competition, so it's going to make guys like a Sam Morton maybe a little bit more hungry to be in that and to prove that he can be that role of the fourth line, or put the pressure on someone a little higher in the lineup to make sure that they are bringing it so that they are part of the roster going forward. So overall, that's a good signing by Craig Conroy. He gets some early work done before the draft here.
Yeah, he could play in the penalty kill a little bit, and obviously there's the shootout aspect to the whole thing. So there's a little bit upside here. I'm pretty happy with the deal.
We are in the middle of rumor palooza across the NHL, as I've dubbed it on Twitter this week, as we head towards the draft. Lots of work to be done. We'll talk about other things the Flames are going to do around the draft a little bit later here, but what about specifically at the draft here, Robert? What are you looking forward to the most here? It seems to be no consensus of a top 5, no consensus of a top 10. Players are going everywhere. What do you make of this draft class as you're doing research into your guys and what you make of these guys overall here?
It feels like the first, I would say maybe 20 picks, there's a lot of upside in a lot of these players in the first round. So that's pretty exciting. After pick 20, I think it's just going to be super random. It's just going to be, teams are going to have different reads on different guys. Like I could see a team having one player rated at number 20 and another team not even having that player on their draft board potentially. Mm-hmm. Like that's kind of the range of outcomes we're looking at here in the draft. And from a Flames perspective, the thing I'm looking forward to most is are they going to continue the 2024 draft model of drafting pure skill, pure upside? Because, I mean, you take a look at Craig Conroy's first draft as GM, and it was okay. I mean, the Sam Honzik pick, I'm not a fan of. I'm sure if you listen to this podcast, you know that. I don't think that was an upside pick. I think that was a very safe pick. I think they saw the size, and I think they saw his fitness test scores, like the VO2 max. I guess he absolutely crushed those. So I think they saw the physical tools and were very intrigued by that. But then you look at last year's draft, it was all like pure skill, pure offense. Like, either they're going to be a top 6 forward or top 4 defenseman, or they're not going to play. Like, and I like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Craig Conroy approaches the draft. Are they going to go with the more skill like they did last year, or are they going to go with, prioritizing size and some old school things? So it's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like how this draft, there's such a big a variety and range of where a player could go. For example, Caleb Denoyers, I've seen as high as 2 on a Sportsnet draft mock draft with Jason Bukala. He has him at 2, and I just read one with Tony Fiari on the Hockey News, have him at 15. So there's just, these guys can go anywhere. There's a lot of versatility in this group, but these top end guys, I think there's a lot of upside to be excited about. So for the Flames as well, I'm still in the mantra of best available player, always bet on skill, and it'll be interesting to see how they approach those picks as well. So let's dive into those, Robert. Do you see the Flames moving up in this draft? Is this a draft where we get the classic Brad Treliving move back twice and end up getting Connor Zary anyways, plus some extra assets? How do you see the Flames approaching with their first pick at number 18?
Jeez, like every year we hear about people talking about the idea of trading up in the draft, and it just never happens.
No, never
like
happened.
When was the last time we saw a trade up into the top 10? Like I know a trade up into the top 5, I think the last time it happened was like 2008. So I just don't think it's realistic for the Flames to move up into the top 10, because they have pick 32 and pick 18 in a draft that's not all that deep. So I don't know why teams would want to do that. Like a team in the top 10, why would you want to trade out of the top 10 for those picks? You have Rasmus Andersson, who, he has 1 year left on his deal. I don't know if a lot of the teams in the top 10 would be interested in Andersson. I think more of the teams that are up Andersson's alley would be, competitive teams that are probably picking anywhere from 16 to 31.
Yeah.
So the idea of moving up, I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't see it happening. I don't think the Flames have the assets to do it. I think pick 18 is not a sexy enough pick for people to move back. So I don't see a trade up happening whatsoever.
The only way I see a trade up happening is if there's a player they're so enamored with in that top 10 that they're willing to give up one of their high-end prospects that they already have currently. And we're talking the high-end guys, the Henry Muse, even Hunter Brzustevich, those kind of guys. But a team would have to really be enamored with your prospect to give up that pick. So I just don't see it happening. I don't see some Brian Burr getting Sedins in the top 3 type of moves happening. It's hard for me to see it. I can see other teams a little closer to the top 10 being able to maybe make a pick swap work with a prospect, and they get up there. But just with the Flames and their 2 picks, like I've seen a lot of people say 18 and 32 should get you pick 10. And I'm like, I just don't see that. I'm sorry. 18 and 32 might get you 15, might get you maybe 16, but I just don't see a huge move up there. And I'm with you on the Rasmus Andersson. If he's traded for a draft pick, a first rounder, it's probably going to be a future first rounder, probably 26 or 27. I don't think we're going to see him traded for a 25 first rounder. These teams just that are looking for a player like that just don't have those picks remaining right now in their holsters. They've already spent their first rounders this year. So I just don't see the Flames moving up. And I just don't see how even if you're willing to pay the price of, say, Muse plus the 18th to move up into the top 10, how that really makes it worthwhile for your asset management. And so I just don't see moving up in the draft pick. What about moving back?
Well,
Robert?
actually, before we move on, I should think you made a great point there, because I guess what I was saying is I don't see them moving into the top 10, because like that's where you find the true difference makers, right?
100%.
So I don't see that happening. But you mentioned something there that I think is interesting. They can move up. Like you take a look, Montreal's got pick 16, Calgary's pick from the Sean Monahan trade. Vancouver's got 15. Columbus and Detroit, like Columbus and Detroit are two teams. Even the New York Rangers, those are three teams that might have interest in Rasmus Andersson. Could you get one of those picks out of them? So the idea of moving up, to pick 16, 15, 14, 13, I think is a lot more realistic than the Flames moving into the top 10. That's for sure.
Yeah, it absolutely. And the asset management side of it, that it would make sense if, say, they could get Detroit, which I don't think they will, take Rasmus Andersson and the 18th pick and maybe a third round or something to move up to 14th pick. Then maybe that's the move you do make. But you have to really love a player. And is the player you get at 14 really all that different than the player you're going to get at 18? So you have to really, when you move up in the draft, you really have to weigh the options versus your asset management. It doesn't really make sense for me. If you're going to move up, go ahead, but just make sure that you're really, really enamored with a player that is going to make a difference, or have a good idea that he could be the perfect fit for this roster. But we'll see how that works. The conversation of moving back is an interesting one. I know a lot of Flame fans will roll their eyes at a conversation about moving back in the draft. We saw it a few years ago when Brad Treliving moved back twice, still was able to get Connor Zary, which he claimed was his guy, and get other assets. Where do you land on the trading back in the draft for the Flames?
Yeah, I honestly think it's probably more realistic than trading up. And it might actually make more sense for the Flames to move back because of what we just mentioned a couple minutes ago. I would argue picks 18 through 25, those players are going to be pretty interchangeable. Yeah, like the guy that you have at 18 compared to 25, the gap between them and the guys in between, I don't think it's going to be that big. So if you're the Flames, could you, say there's an opportunity to move back 2 or 3 spots? Say Ottawa wants to move up to 18. So you acquire Ottawa's first round pick, and then I'm just trying to see if they even have a second round pick. Maybe you pick up a second round pick in next year's draft and a third in this year's draft or something like that. And then all of a sudden the Flames have, 4 picks in the first 2 rounds instead of 3, and you can take another swing on a center or something like that. Like to me, that makes more sense. The only way I wouldn't consider that at all is if your guy is there at 18 and you think that there's a drop off after them, then for sure keep the pick. But if the Flames, if they have on their draft list, hey, we have 5 guys here who we really like, and it doesn't really matter which one of them we get, then moving down 2 or 3 spots would make sense for them. So yeah, I don't think it's that crazy. I know the reason I think I would roll my eyes at that is because I look back at the Mark Jankowski draft.
Yes.
When they moved, I think they had the 13th pick, and they traded with Buffalo to move down to 21. And then all of a sudden Vasilevsky goes and Tom Wilson goes and Thomas Hertl goes. And then Jay Feaster takes Mark Jankowski out of high school and says he's going to be the best player in the draft. And he's the next Joe Nieuwendyk.
Yeah.
That's where I roll my eyes. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, here we go again. But Craig Conroy is not Jay Feaster. So I have a little more trust in him and in the current management team when it comes to the draft.
Oh, man. If you're trading back in the draft, you have to be really certain. And I brought up the Connor Zary one on purpose because that's my example. The Jankowski one is always the, hey, hindsight look, and hey, make sure you're okay with what you're doing here. There's always a cautionary tale in what you're trying to do here. But if you're okay with Connor Zary at 20, but you're also okay with Connor Zary at 24, why not move back a few spots to still get your guy and add an asset? But you have to be really sure that player is going to fall to you. And you have to be really sure that you have, if he doesn't get there, you have a really good backup plan to that. So it's always a cautionary tale. I don't hate moving back as much as a lot of other people do as well. I'm in the same boat as you, Robert. Just always make sure that you have the cautionary side of that thing. So if you have, like you mentioned, a couple of players, 3, 4, 5 players that you think will go in that range, and then you'll be okay with any one of those guys, why not move back and add another asset? All you're doing is adding another chip to the pile of players that you're looking for, another prospect, another lottery ticket as you may have, and who knows what you might be able to get with that extra draft pick. Or you could take that extra draft pick and flip it in a package for something else that you really are enamored with or want for part of your roster. So I don't hate the moving back. I think moving back from 32 back into the second round is also on the table. Adding another 4th round or something, whatever adds a second asset to there. It's just who's available. Who do you have your eye on? And do you, and just be cautionary, right? Like I said, make sure that you have your player list, draft from your list. And like we've seen from Connor, please draft skill, please. Let's let's dive into these picks that the Flames have. Let's just say they don't make any trades here, Robert. Let's just say they stand pat at 18 and 32. Let's kind of go back and forth here. And we've both taken some time here, some research. We both took a guy at 8. We took 2 guys at each of these draft picks, and we're just going to go back and forth here and discuss these guys, who we picked and why we picked them here. So why don't you kick us off here, Robert, with your first pick at number 18?
Yeah, I mean, so with pick 18, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I really hope the Flames just go for upside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really hope they kind of take some home run swings on guys who have potential to be true difference makers. Like I don't want to see them go for, you know, a Sam Honzek kind of guy. I'd rather see them go for, you know, a Gabe Perreault, you know, as an example from the 2023 draft. So kind of with that in mind, the first guy that I would love to see the Flames target, and I don't know if this is going to be possible. I mean, I've seen in rankings Carter Bear anywhere from, you know, the high 10s, like 9 or 8. I've seen him all the way into the 20s as well. So that the Achilles injury there with him is kind of what's putting him in sort of the mid range of the first round here. And if he's available, man, that's a guy I am taking if I'm the Calgary Flames 100%. Like I said, if Carter Bear, if he didn't get hurt, I think he'd be a top 10 pick. Like he's a top 10 talent. You know, he had a 100-point pace over a full WHL season, a 49-goal pace. He finished with 82 points in 56 games, but it's 100 points over a 68-game season. And just when he's healthy, man, he's just got this mix of super high-end skill, but he's also got this determination. He's got this, you know, this never kind of stopping motor, this relentless sort of pursuit of the puck and physical play to go along with his skill. And I think that would be massive for the Calgary Flames. Those are the types of guys that you win with in the NHL. Like I'm a huge fan of this player. Like I think he's got great hands. He's very creative. He's just as good a goal scorer as he is a playmaker. So if Carter Bear is available, I am all over that. If I'm the Calgary Flames, I have a feeling that he's not going to make it to pick 18. So maybe there's an opportunity to trade up, like I said, with like a Detroit or a team like that, or Columbus. But if he's available, Carter Bear is my guy for sure.
I love Carter Bear. I love this pick from you, Robert. This guy, he has, this is high praise for him, but I couldn't think of another player to put with him. He's got the motor like Jerome McGinley had the motor. Like once it gets going, it doesn't stop. And this guy is driven to play hard and plays to the net. He'll play along the wall. He'll play in the middle. You want to throw it down, he'll throw it down. I love this guy. I love what he brings to the lineup for the Silver Tips in the Western Hockey League. I'm a big Western Hockey League guy, of course, and be a massive home run pick for the Flames. I went with a guy who also has size to his playmaking ability. He's really good down low in the face-up dot. Below the face-up dot is where he really makes his bread and butter. I'm a big fan of Jack Nesbitt, and I've seen this guy as high as 10 as well, but I've also seen him actually not even make the first round. So this guy, for a lot of people, is an X factor in this year's draft, but I like to bet on guys who have skill and a high IQ, and that's what I see when I watch Jack Nesbitt. Like I mentioned, down low between those dots, this guy is as fierce a competitor as you're going to find across hockey. This guy knows how to get to the net. He knows how to finish. He can play. He's good at the face-off dot, and that's what the Flames are looking for. They need a big body centerman to go along with these smaller guys that they have here, and I think Jack Nesbitt is exactly what the Flames are looking for in round 1.
What's like the ceiling for him? Like what's sort of like the offensive upside for Nesbitt?
Sean Monahan. But that's best for me. That's best case scenario. A guy who can score in tight, get your 20 to 30 goals, 60-point type of guy. And that's all, of course, a best case scenario. But he brings a lot more than just goal scoring and scoring to the lineup. I just like his tenacity, his face-off ability. He's hard to play against, a two-way game, and so he checks off a lot of boxes for me, not just what he brings on the goal scoring sheet.
Yeah, I mean, and that profile player is something that is desperately needed in the Flames prospect group right now. So I don't hate that idea. I know for me, my second guy that I would have interest in, and a lot of Flames fans have talked about him and know a lot about him, is Cole Rezhny from the Victoria Royals. Future member of North Dakota, which is really too bad for the Royals. God, between losing him and Keaton Vernoff, that is brutal for that organization. I feel so bad for them. But
yeah, it's awful.
But yeah, I mean, Cole Rezhny, I mean, he's not a big guy. He's only 5'10", but he is 187 pounds right now. He's one of those kind of shorter, stockier, built like a truck sort of guys. So it's not like you're bringing in like like when they drafted Johnny Gaudreau and he was like 140 pounds. Cole Reshny he's pretty thick, and he's strong. He's kind of built like a tank by all accounts. And the thing that I really like about Cole Reshny is just the playmaking upside.
Mm-hmm.
He had 66 assists last season in the WHL with the Victoria Royals. And another thing I really liked about his season was that he played his best hockey in the second half and in the playoffs. He had 53 points in the second half of the season, 25 points in 11 playoff games with the Victoria Royals. Like he single-handedly took that team to the second round and gave a really good Spokane Chiefs team a bit of a scare. And it was basically all Reshny. So I think there's like legitimate top line upside with this player, whether it's on the wing or whether it's at center. I think that he could be a real difference maker, and mainly through the playmaking department. And I think that's an area that the Calgary Flames really need to work on as an organization, is finding those guys that can make plays, that can make passes, that can set up their teammates to score easy goals. Mm-hmm. The Flames don't have a lot of that in their system right now. So Cole Reshny, if he's available at 18, I would be ecstatic if the Flames could pick up a guy like him.
When you sent me your list of guys that you wanted to talk about in this spot, I almost fought you for Cole Reshny, because that's how high I love this guy. This is a player that if he's available at 18, you run to the podium and select because you're betting on skill. The skill, the playmaking, the IQ, the passing ability. This guy has vision like Alex Tanguay vision. This guy can find his teammates. He knows where they're going to be. This guy plays a smart game, which allows his skill to just be naturally shining through his game. I love what Cole brings to the table. It's a shame, like you mentioned, that the Victoria is going to lose him in the WHL to North Dakota. This guy's awesome. This is a great hockey player. Really good pick by you. And so when you took him, I had to pivot, and I stuck with the Western Hockey League because I'm a little bit biased. I'll admit it. I went Braden Coots here with my second pick, and a lot of Flame fans are familiar with this name as well. I've read a lot of people online talking up this guy's game. He had a really good under 18s for Team Canada. He captained them to a really good showing there. His leadership ability has really come through the last couple of years here in Seattle as well, so I really like that from him. A naturally born leader. This guy plays a strong game. He's got good finishability. He's got good hands. His boots do give me a little bit of a question mark. He's got to work on his skating a little bit, in my opinion. But this is an all-round hockey player. Another guy that you just bet on skill. I don't know if he's going to be there at 18, because a team like Vancouver or Detroit would really love a guy of this skill on their roster as well. Maybe even Montreal. But Braden Coots would be a guy there, if he's at 18, that I would not hesitate to draft as well.
I like that pick too. If the Flames could pick up Coots, I'd be super happy with that as well. The thing I like about him is that he just never gives up on a play.
Yeah,
like he's got that crazy motor. He's a great forechecker. He works his tail off, and like you said, he's a tremendous leader. And I have a feeling that he's probably going to be gone before pick 18. Like I've heard, like a team like Vancouver, like they took him out for dinner. I think he was the only player that they took out was Coots, and I guess they're like obsessed with him. So watch out for Vancouver and Coots at that spot. But if he could slip to 18, that would be a really, really good pick. 6-foot center, hard worker, decent skill. Once again, that profile player the Calgary Flames desperately need. And on top of all that, he's a right shot too, which is great. So
100%.
Yeah, if the Flames get any one of those players at number 18 that we just kind of discussed here, I would be super, super happy.
It's funny as well, before we get to pick 32 here, it's funny that we picked 4 players, and all 4 of those guys are centermen. All 4 of those guys are guys that we like their motor. All 4 of those guys are the guys we think have skill and have ability to be a difference maker for the Flames lineup. I really hope that's kind of how the Flames are thinking here. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we picked all centermen there. I think that's a really interesting wrinkle to this thing. Let me get us started with pick 32. Pick 32 was a little bit more difficult for me, as you've mentioned a couple times on the show here, Robert. This draft could go 1,000 different ways after pick 15, 16, 17. You can go 1,000 different ways here. But I went to the U.S. development team for a player that I didn't know a ton about, so I did a little bit of research in. And I decided to go with William Horkoff. He's a center. He's 6'5", so this is a big body guy. He's just under 200 pounds. He's a sizable winger, but that could also play center. He's kind of done both for the U.S. national development team. He does a really good job of shielding away defenders with his size. He's got a stick. He sticks out his legs, and he's basically impossible to knock. It's he's like a tripod on ice, how he skates, his skating ability. If you ever watch his skating style, quite interesting for me. And he's a good 200-foot player for me. He's a guy that you would take a swing on at 32 because you like his size, you like his upsides, you like what he brings to the table here. And, I'm not just picking this guy because he has size to him, but it does help the equation for me when you don't know a player a lot and you don't know you're not overly familiar with his game. You do like size when it comes to those kind of equations. But from what I've watched as well, he's got a smart stick to his game, both defensively and offensively. It sticks always in position. And when you have a positionally sound stick, you're usually in position to make the plays that you need to make to be a successful hockey player. So I went with William Horkoff. It might be a bit of a project for the Flames, but you have 2 first-rounders, and this is where you kind of take a swing at a guy here.
Yeah, I like that pick. Like you said, I don't think he's got the highest offensive ceiling, but I think he's almost like a guy that could be like an Adam Lowry type of centerman for you.
Good comparison.
Third line center, just massive, hard to get around, just an absolute tank on the ice. Can win you faceoffs, and then hey, if he can pot 12 to 15 goals a year, 30 to 35 points as your third line center and kind of shutdown guy, I think you're more than happy with that type of profile. I've heard just through listening through to podcasts and reading articles that Horkoff, he's going to be a desired player. Teams around the league really like him. They like that he's kind of grown up around the NHL with his dad. I mean, his dad was a very good two-way centerman. So if the Flames could snag him at 32, that would be pretty solid pickup by them. Mm-hmm. For my first pick at 32, it is the complete opposite of what of your guy in Horkoff. You talk about, great defensive player, huge, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going literally the complete opposite. And I'm going Cameron Schmidt of the Vancouver Giants. Now,
great pick, though.
He's only 5'7". According to Elite Prospects, he's 161 pounds. So he's like a little bit bigger than like a Johnny Gaudreau was when the Flames drafted him. But I just think this guy, he's an offensive dynamo. The Athletic, the other day, they put out an article talk about the superlatives for the draft class, and they had Cameron Schmidt as the best shot in the draft class, and they had him as the third best skater. And I'm like, those are the types of tools that you want to take a swing on at a pick like this at number 32. The guy, obviously the reason he's not going to go higher is because he's small. He's really small, but my God, is he skilled. He's got that incredible shot. His hockey sense is really good. He's a good playmaker. I love everything about Cameron Schmidt, minus the fact he's 5'7", and that's why he's going probably somewhere late in the first round, early in the second round. Mm-hmm. So I would go that way. Another interesting point with him is that he had 9 points in 5 playoff games. Like this is when things get physical. This is when games get difficult, and he actually produced at a better clip in the playoffs than he did in the regular season. So I'm a huge fan of Cameron Schmidt. I would love if the Flames took a swing on him. And in terms of like a player comp, like a couple guys I looked at was like, I think he could be kind of like a Jonathan Marchessault type of player. Shorter guy, but just unbelievable shot, unbelievable scoring upside. And everything I've read, and it says that Cam Schmidt, he plays like he's bigger than he's 5'7". Like he's a really tenacious 100%. Guy. He battles hard. He forechecks hard. Like he's not your typical small player. So that's a guy I would love to see the Flames maybe take a swing on.
If this guy was 6'2" or 6'3", he'd be a top 12 pick, in my opinion. That's how good this guy is. Just tremendous hands, dynamic player. Again, Western Hockey Leaguer, so I love it a little bit more as well. I really like that pick by you, and that's really good comparison as well, like the Jonathan Marchessault one. This guy, a lot of skill. Those hands are magical. They're not Patrick Kane magic, but you could see the Patrick Kane in his hands when he gets to work there. It's a really good pick by you here. I went completely off board for my last one here. I picked 32. I picked a guy that I didn't know anything about going into this week, and I did some research. And from what I've read and from what I've heard on different podcasts, I quite like it. I'm going back to the U.S. Development League. Jack Murtaugh, I think, is a really good player. He's from New York, so there you go, Conroy's old stomping grounds. He's an offensive-minded winger, so not a center at this pick for me. So I went winger on this one. He protects the puck well. He's got physical strength. He's almost got man strength already, I would kind of say, from what I've been watching. He does a good job of creating space for himself. He's very offensive-mindedly driven, which is what the Flames need, playmaking ability. Again, I think Johnny Gaudreau, playmaking ability. It's almost like he can work himself in a position to be forgotten. I don't know if you remember watching Brett Hall on the power play or Brett Hall when in the offensive zone where he would just find the soft spot and apparently just be open all the time. I kind of see that in Jack's game and how he likes to play. He likes to find the soft spot, get his shot off quickly. But he also has the thinking and the IQ ability to take those pucks and to create offense and help set his teammates up for success. So this guy is very offensively minded driven for me. I really like those kind of players. 6'1", good size. He's from Conroy's backyard. So why not take a swing on a guy that comes from your neck of the woods, Conroy?
I like it. I'll kind of go down a similar path to you for my last pick here for pick 32, and I'll go Riker Lee. He's a right shot center. He's 6 feet tall, 181 pounds, out of the USHL, plays for Madison. By all accounts, he has just a ridiculous amount of skill. Like he led rookies in scoring in the USHL with 68 points in 58 games. He's going to go to Michigan State next year on an absolutely stacked team down there. This pick, it kind of reminds me a lot of Gridden, Matvei Gridden, kind of similar profile player,
like that,
highly skilled, high offensive ceiling, bit of a sniper. The only difference between kind of the two guys is that Riker Lee plays center. So, and then, the Athletic in their superlative article that I mentioned earlier, they said that he has the best hands in the draft. So like, that's the type of player that I'm really hoping the Flames swing on here. Like I want that offense. I want that offensive ceiling. You watch some of Riker's film, the guy is lethal on the power play. He's got a great shot, great vision, great hands. If the one thing that kind of holds him back is that he's not the best skater in the world, but in my opinion, I think that's something that you can work on. Like, I don't think you can work on it to the point where you're an elite skater, but I certainly think you can improve. And look at Matt Coronado as an example, working with Daniel Fujita with the Flames. So if they could draft him and just kind of work on his stride, work on his skating a little bit, I think there's the upside for him to become a top 6 player in the NHL one day. So with my second pick, I would love to see the Flames go after a guy like Riker Lee.
Yeah, that's another guy I don't know a ton about. Before this week when I was doing my research, I like what we've mentioned about the player. I like that we both went center in our first picks, centers with skill, guys that we really want to rely on down the road here. And then we both took kind of like almost swings with pick 32. And I like that because you're trying to bet on some skill. You're trying to find diamonds in the rough. You're trying to find guys who you could bet on for the longer term. So I like those picks and I like those suggestions. Anything else on those picks here before we move along here to some Flames business that they might have to get taken care of at the draft here, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, I have like an honorable mention that I wanted to
do it
out there. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this player, but I didn't want to pick him for 18 because I thought that he won't go that high, and I think he'll be available after that. But I also think he's going to be gone by 32. So I was like, I just don't think it makes sense to mention him in this exercise. But man, I'm a big fan of Malcolm Spence.
Oh, yes.
This kid is a stud. Like, just an amazing skater, has this amazing motor, never gives up on plays. He's in your face. He's pissing you off. He's physical. Like, I think he's kind of got like the potential to be like a Zach Hyman type of player. Just one of those worker bees, never gives up on a play, brings a little bit of offense to the table, but is a guy that could probably play on your third line or your second line, play like the tough defensive matchups, penalty kill. Like, I'm a huge fan of Malcolm Spence. Like, I remember watching him at some international tournaments, like the Holinka. I thought he was one of Canada's best players. Watching some film here, just the speed that he could bring to a lineup, I think is super enticing. So I have a feeling Spence is going to go between probably 19 and 31. And I don't think he'll be available for the Flames. And I think there's some guys at pick 18 that have just a little bit more upside than Malcolm Spence. But, if the Flames make a trade and, say they deal Rasmus Andersson and they're able to pick up one of those picks in the 20s, Malcolm Spence would be a guy I'd be all over if I was Craig Conroy. I don't know. How do you feel about Malcolm Spence?
Malcolm Spence would be a guy that if the Florida Panthers drafted him, we'd all hate him within one season, because that's the kind of player that he is. He's a pest who knows he's a pest, but it also knows how to finish the game, and he knows how to score. He knows how to go to the front of the net. He's tenacious along the board. I love this pick. If all four of our picks for center were gone at 18, I would take the swing on him at 18, just because I like this player and I like what he brings to the game. His board battles are incredible. This guy, he doesn't stop working. He is a horse. He is an absolute horse. I love that by you, and I love your description of the player as well. So yes, if the Flames manage to get, say, pick 23 or 24 and he's still there, absolutely sprint yourself to the podium and announce his name, because he would fit in awesome. He's a pest. He's an absolute pest, and I love it. I love his game. That's a really good pick by you.
Yeah, man. I just think he's one of those guys you win with. And there's a lot of talk about Brady Martin being kind of like a Sam Bennett style player.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Malcolm Spence is like in that same conversation as a Brady Martin, to be totally honest. Just the only difference is I think he's a little bit smaller and doesn't play center.
Yeah, he doesn't play center. I'm not worried about his size either, because we've seen guys like that, like Brad Marchand. He's not a big guy, but he still manages to find a way to make his game work on ice and still be tenacious and a pain in the butt. Malcolm is very much the same, where he can just be a pain in the butt, and he'll wear you down. I like that from you. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me of like a lot of those guys on Tampa. Like Tampa, they're not the biggest forward group in the world, but holy crap, do they ever work hard? Like he's probably like a less skilled version, almost like a Brandon Hagel type of guy,
Here's my thing: is Washington has the 27th pick in the draft, and doesn't he feel like a Washington type player as well, right alongside the Tom Wilson? And that's
I could see
that.
Boy,
now we got our juices flowing with that pick there. That's excellent. We've mentioned it a few times now. We've talked about this player on a ton of podcasts. Elliot Friedman this morning, he put out a new report on Rasmus Andersson. He said both sides were so far apart on a new contract that they know it's time for something new. It's not a negative feeling by these teams, but they feel that a fresh start for Rasmus Andersson and for the Flames seems to be in the cards. So, Robert, just going to open it up here. How do you handle the Rasmus Andersson situation as of right now?
Well, I mean, first off, I think this is a good thing. I think the Calgary Flames would have made a mistake signing Andersson to a 7 or 8 year contract. There are times when sometimes it's just time to move on from a player. And with Rasmus, you made a great second round pick. You turned him into a good top 4 defenseman. He had some really good seasons for you, but ultimately it's time to move on. And it feels like Rasmus thinks that way. It feels like the Flames, hopefully are thinking that way. So yeah, I mean, number one, you got to give credit to Rasmus Andersson. He's been a really good Flame. He's been a really good person. He's been a good defenseman. I know he struggled last year, but prior to last year, he was a good player for this team and a good player for the community. And, I have all the respect in the world for the guy. So, credit to him for being a really good member of this team. And yeah, man, it's time to move on, and it's a good thing. And if I'm in Craig Conroy's shoes, I am 100% trading him before the first round of Friday's draft. I'm putting out like a bidding war for him. And the reason I'm doing that now and not holding on to him is because this might be the best sellers market we've seen in the NHL in a long time, because the amount of buyers, there's 30 buyers out there right now. And there's only, actually, I guess 31 buyers, and there's only one seller, and it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. So if you're the Calgary Flames, it's like you have to cash in on this opportunity. Teams have ample cap space right now. They have holes on the right side of their defense in their roster right now. And there's no one out there. The only other right shot defenseman that's in like the same category is Aaron Ekblad, and he's clearly a better player than Rasmus Andersson right now. But like aside from that, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So Rasmus is the guy on the market. So if I'm Conroy, I'm calling every GM. I'm saying, hey, bidding war on Rasmus Andersson, get your best bid in on Friday. We're making a deal. And I look to maybe pick up at least a first-round pick in this draft or a first-round pick in next year's draft, plus on another prospect or another pick or two on top of that. So I think this is really exciting for the Flames. I think they're going to be able to cash in on a good player on a fantastic contract. If they eat 50% of that deal, literally the entire league can afford him.
Yeah.
So if I'm a Conroy, I'm like, guys, we're eating 50%. You can have Rasmus Andersson for $2.25 million. Put a right shot, top 4 guy right in your lineup immediately. And I really think the price is going to be pretty high for him. So that's kind of my overall thoughts on the whole situation. It sucks to see him go, but at the same time, it's like it's time, just based off where the Flames are right now in Andersson's age and contract situation.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love Rasmus Andersson. I like what he brings. I like the style of his game. He did come off a tough season, but that's an anomaly from what I've seen from Rasmus Andersson. This guy, he loves to play hockey. He loves to battle and compete, and any team who goes to acquire him is going to see that part of Rasmus Andersson. It's a shame it comes to this with hockey players that you got to say goodbye to the guys that you watched growing up in this league. We watched him get drafted as an overweight guy who people questions his conditioning and question what he would be, into a guy who's played top pair minutes for the Flames for a couple of seasons now. This is a guy that we've watched grow up. So it is a bit bittersweet to see a guy like this go, but this is the right move here. You're trying to build a team that's competitive down the road a little bit here. I know we hear all the talk about being a playoff team, but let's be honest, what this Flames team is, you need to build something. And this core is a little bit younger than Rasmus Andersson. An 8-year contract never made any sense in my book as well, because based on the age of Rasmus and where this team is going. And you mentioned Aaron Ekblad. Aaron Ekblad gets to choose where he goes. So there's going to be, 28, 29 other teams that are just out of luck because Aaron Ekblad doesn't like their situation. So there's an opportunity here to cash in and to set the market for your defenseman and to bring in a good package, a first rounder and a defensive prospect for down the road. There is a ton of ways you can go with the Rasmus Andersson trade with bringing back assets here, but this is probably what's best for the Flames and definitely what's best for Rasmus Andersson. Allow him to go chase a Stanley Cup on a team that's actually competitive for a Stanley Cup, not a middle of the pack, maybe what is this roster type of team that the Flames are right now. They are in transition. Just be honest, call spade a spade here. This team on paper, if they run back last year's roster, is not a playoff team in my opinion. So cash in on Rasmus Andersson, and it's not because you hate Rasmus Andersson. It's not because any of that kind of stuff. Just it's time to move on. As Elliot Friedman mentioned, there's no bad blood here. It's just both teams realize where they're at, and it's time for a fresh break here. So we'll see how that shapes down. And I like what you said there, Robert, about, hey, the draft starts Friday. And so before pick 1 is made in that draft, we'd like to have Rasmus Andersson's situation dealt with and deal him. We have read reports out there that this could go into season, and I think that would be a mistake because then you're limiting the amount of suitors you have. You're limiting the package that you could get back, and I don't think there'd be a bidding war for Rasmus Andersson in season like you would find this week at the draft here.
Yeah, because this week teams are going to be feeling, the right side of their defense, whether it's through trades or free agency or offer sheets, whatever it may be. So a whole bunch of teams are going to be out of the running just due to that. Teams are going to be spending all their cap space, by July 2nd. So a bunch of teams are pretty much going to be out of the mix for him then. And then, like you said, having him on the team heading into next season is just going to be this unnecessary drama, just this unnecessary storyline that's going to follow the team the whole season. They're going to get to February. They're going to be in 9th place. And Murray Edwards is going to say, I want to make the playoffs. You're not trading Rasmus. I could just see it happening right now. So if you're Craig Conroy, don't put yourself in that position.
100%.
Please learn from the Noah Hannafin situation. Learn from the Chris Tanev situation. Don't hold on to this guy forever. Make a move this summer with all the flexibility that's going on around the league. They would be crazy to hold on to him up to the trade deadline. I see a lot of that are like, oh, his value, sure, his value might be similar, but it's like, why even hold on to him? You're going to, like I said, you're going to be competing for that playoff spot because this is a pretty mediocre roster. They'll be in that 8th, 9th, 10th range, and they're going to want to keep him because they're going to want to make the playoffs. I can just see it happening. So trade him as fast as you can. Trade him this week. For the love of God, please, Craig Conroy, trade this guy this week.
If they don't trade him and they keep him in season, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to barely squeak in and just get their ass handed to them by a Vegas or an Edmonton in round 1. And so you got 4 extra games of Rasmus Andersson and you lose them for nothing. Or you just missed the playoffs and you lose them for nothing. Those are the only two situations in season, because we've seen how the Flames operate. This past season, there was only one worst case scenario, and that was missing the playoffs and giving up your pick. Well, they just missed the playoffs and they gave up their pick. The worst case scenario. Don't tempt the fates of the hockey gods. Do yourself a favor. Get out in front of a situation. And then you get rid of a distraction. This seems to be the only distraction on the Flames right now is the Rasmus Andersson saga. What are we going to do here? Are we signing him long-term? Are we trading him? So just get rid of it. Deal with it right now. And then after the draft, what the Flames have to worry about is nothing but player development and working towards next season. No distractions, no extra storylines, nothing hanging over the team's heads. And you could have a nice, clear start to next season where you just have your kids, your Coronados, your Zari's back from injury, your younger defensemen like a Brstavich and Parekh can play freely, knowing there's a job open for them as well. And they can play and they can bring their best. And this Flames team can maybe get off on a good foot starting next season. You don't want things looming over your organization's heads. The longer Rasmus hangs around, the bigger that cloud's going to get. And you're just tempting the fate, like you mentioned, Robert, close to the trade deadline. What do you do if you're in 10 spot, 3 points out of a playoff spot? You're not trading Rasmus Andersson, and you put yourself right back in that same spot. Don't tempt the fate, man. Let's just get it done. Draft's on Friday, and it's a good time to get it done.
Are there any teams that you can think of off the top of your head that you think would be a good fit? Like, I don't know if you've thought about it at all.
I have, and I actually have kind of a potential coming back for the Flames. So the Flames are in need of centermen. Detroit Red Wings are in need of some help on the blue line. What about Rasmus Andersson to the Detroit Red Wings and you bring back a Nate Danielson type of trade?
I like that.
Add in draft picks where you have to make it work, but that's the kind of move that I would look to be making if I am Craig Conroy.
Yeah, I like that one. I mean, shit, like I wrote an article for Flames Nation. It should be out today on Tuesday. And I just looked around the league and just found the 5 best suitors for Andersson. And when I was going through that exercise, I literally counted 15 teams that could use them.
Yeah.
Like there
Who
should
can't
be
use a right-handed shot? Who can't use a right-handed shot defenseman?
Well, I mean, especially for, potentially $2.25 million.
Yeah.
Like if Craig doesn't eat the 50%, I'm just, my mind's going to be blown. Because if you can, a $2.25 million Rasmus Andersson for 1 year should be so valuable with the cap where it is today. So a couple other teams that I'll mention that I think could be potentially interesting fits. One would be Nashville, because they have a ton of draft capital. The right side of their defense is in shambles. Like Justin Barron is their best right shot defenseman right now. And he's probably a third pair or even a number 7 on most good teams. So like they need help. Barry Trotz says that he wants to make the playoffs. He does not want this team to tank. A Rasmus Andersson could be a really good fit there. And there's potential to sign him too. Cause I mean, lots of players love playing for the Nashville Predators, even though it's been a rough couple years there lately. So there's that. And I think they have 8 picks in the first 2 rounds of the next 2 drafts here. So could the Flames pick up, 1 or 2, maybe even 3 of those picks? Who knows? But that's one that I think is super interesting. And then the other one I found last night that made a lot of sense to me was Tampa Bay.
Ooh.
It's not being talked about a lot, but when you think of the Tampa Bay Lightning, you think of a team that tries to exploit market inefficiencies. Like they love taking swings on guys at low cap hits who can fit in under their salary cap and play big minutes. You look at like the Yanni Gourds and Blake Colemans of the world and Hagel when they traded for him back then. Like these are all guys who had low salaries but could be true difference makers. So I looked, Tampa's got a little over $3 million in cap space right now. Their lineup is completely filled out. They could definitely use help on the right side. They have Eric Chernak on the right, and they play JJ Moser on the right. I mean, even though he's a left shot, but you add Rasmus Andersson to that group, all of a sudden, he can play in that second pair right side, and then you can move Moser to the third pair on the left side. I think it makes a lot of sense. You eat half the salary. And I don't know how I feel about this player, but the way I think you make a deal work is, could you include Isaac Howard in the trade from Tampa's perspective? So you do
Tampa
like
would
Isaac.
do it.
I think so too. Would Calgary do it though? I mean, he's like a 6 foot forward, left shot, left winger, just coming off a Hobie Baker award in the NCAA. Absolutely ripped up that league. Was incredible at the World Junior. Scored 7 goals in 7 games. Like he's like a legit prospect, a guy that could potentially be like a 30 to 35 goal scorer in the NHL one day. But the only thing I'd question is, does he want to sign in Calgary long term? So, if the Flames were to discuss that type of deal with Tampa, obviously they need reassurance from the player that he's going to sign his entry level deal with Calgary. Yeah. But I just think it's an interesting conversation because, Tampa, they only have a little bit of cap space. They need help on D. Rasmus Andersson could go in at a low price point. They have Isaac Howard kind of dangling out there. Maybe you do Isaac Howard in a draft pick for Andersson at 2.25. Like I think that's a super interesting option.
For sure. As you were talking there, I like that one from you, by the way. As you were talking, I was trying to think of another one for you, and I came up with another situation. What about the Ottawa Senators? They have all left-handed defensemen, except for Zub. They're all left-handed defensemen. They have a surplus of right-handed shots across that entire roster. It's been talked about on multiple podcasts. Could the Flames potentially move Rasmus Andersson and bring themselves, and I know they say they're not going to trade Batherson, but could you bring back a Batherson or a Pinto or someone along those lines in a trade for Rasmus Andersson along with some draft capital? I think that could also be a nice little fit for Rasmus Andersson, and he might be open to signing longer term there as well for that roster. That's a team that's on the cusp of being very competitive, a team that I think will give a nice run in their division this coming up season and build on it. So this is the second team out there for me. I like yours as well, but I think I don't know what you thought, Sarah, on anything Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I keep seeing their name connected to Rasmus Andersson. It sounds like they have a lot of interest in him. So yeah, something like that would be super interesting. I wonder if Ottawa's on Rasmus 6-team no trade list. Like, I heard Brian Burke a few weeks ago say a lot of players have every Canadian team on their no trade list for tax purposes. So maybe Anderson's the same. So there might be a hurdle there, yeah. But one more thing about Tampa, I just remembered off the top of my head here.
Yeah.
Another reason that deal could make sense is Ryan McDonough only has 1 year left on his contract. So, and my guess is that he'll probably either take a serious pay cut or retire or walk as a UFA. There's money to re-sign Rasmus Andersson for the future for Tampa. So not only does Tampa get Andersson at a cheap rate for this season, but I also think there's potential for him to re-sign long-term. And I kind of think he fits in with what they do there. Like they're a pretty nasty team on the blue line. They got some attitude, they got some swag down there. I think Andersson would fit in well with Tampa. And I'm kind of beating the drum for that one a lot, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
He does feel like a John Cooper type of player as well. So I actually really like that fit a lot. I really like that a lot. Anything about Rasmus Andersson before we move on here for the final topics of the day? I think this is it's definitely the biggest storyline for the Flames right now is Rasmus Andersson. Is there anything else to add here before we move on?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything you can when it comes to Rasmus. Just once again, I just hope Craig Conroy's proactive and takes advantage of the seller's market here. I think he'd be crazy not to, unless the deals are just ridiculous. Stupid. and they're offering him like a second round pick. But I just do not see that happening whatsoever.
There's too many money or needy teams that are hungry for a player like Rasmus Andersson. Like you could even argue Florida Panthers for a 1 year for Rasmus Andersson makes
Absolutely.
sense. You could argue New York Rangers, what they're doing, he could make sense. If the Islanders do move Noah Dobson, like there's rumors out there, he could fit in the island. The Devils could use another guy on their back end. Colorado, like you go through a ton of teams here that could use a player of Rasmus Andersson. So there's no reason to believe that the Flames can't get themselves a nice prospect and a high draft pick for this player back, especially at that 2 and change you could get him at for one season. Like what a easy contract that is to fit in for the type of player that Rasmus is in.
As a Flames fan, I will say I don't know if I could handle Rasmus on the Panthers. You're just adding another Flame. He's going to help them win another Stanley Cup. He's got that kind of FU attitude. He pisses people off. I don't know if I can handle it.
Do you know how I would handle it? By bringing back Skamaskevich and being okay with what he brings to your forward group.
Okay.
That's how I would be okay with Rasmus Andersson being on the Panthers. And hey, maybe they'll beat up the Oilers again for us. Who knows, right? outside Rasmus Andersson, we both decided we were going to pick a big storyline to watch this offseason. The biggest thing that we're watching for the Flames to fix here. Why don't I dive in first on this one here, Robert? We mentioned last week on the podcast, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, on the podcast, about things that needs of this Calgary Flames team, and everyone's going to center automatically, which is a massive need. But we both flushed it out there about actually how mediocre looking this Flames defense is. And if you add on top of it, trading out Rasmus Andersson, you're looking at Mackenzie Weegar and the boys, essentially, for the Calgary Flames this offseason. So for me, the biggest storyline for the Flames is, what do we do on the back end? How do you fix your defense? It's Mackenzie Weegar, it's Kevin Ball, and then it's a bunch of guys who haven't even played in the league or have very limited experience in the league. A lot of depth guys. Your Jake Beans, your Braden Halls are in that category. Do you bring back a Joe Hanley? So for me, I'm watching what the Flames do on the back end here. Do they approach the draft the same way? Do they draft a few defensemen to help try to fill the depth in the organization? Do you give more opportunity to young guys like Greshnikov? Can't even say his name. Greshnikov, or does
Brstevich, Parak.
Those guys, Solovyov, that's the guys I'm trying to think of. Kuznetsov, those guys. Are those the guys that get the opportunities here on the back end for the Flames? Or do they dive into the free agent market? Please don't. And just bring in some of these guys in here to help just stopgap the Flames. Going into next season, there's a lot of different guys they could go out and about trying to do. I think the Aaron Ekblad thing that some fans want, is a little out to lunch. Please don't do that, Calgary. So for me, it's watching what the Flames do on the back end. We know guys like Parekh are going to get an opportunity to play, but how do they flush out that top 6, top 8 defensemen? And how about do they fill these holes here, especially with the hole left by Rasmus Andersson if he is moved out by the start of the season? How do they go about doing that? And that's a lot on the plate of Mackenzie Weegar to drag that defensive group along as it stands on paper right now. I don't know what your thoughts are on the Flames back end there, Robert, right now, but there's some work to be done for sure for Craig Conroy back there.
So like the Flames plan, according to Craig Conroy, is to remain competitive and try to make the playoffs. So with that goal in mind, they're not going to come close to being a playoff team if they go into the season with the defense is currently constructed, especially if Rasmus Andersson is traded. I mean, you take away Rasmus from this group, it's literally, you got Mackenzie Weegar as your 1, who's a legit 1, great player. You got Kevin Ball as your 4, and then you got rookies and guys who are probably 6 and 7s on good teams. Like you're missing a lot from that defensive group. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they go about filling those holes, like especially if they trade Rasmus, because
there's no second pair right now for the Flames. There isn't one.
No, there's not. So it's like Kevin Ball,
Manoff, and that scares the hell out of you.
Oh, don't even say that. It's Kevin Ball, Mackenzie Weegar is like a top pair, and then you have Parekh, Bean, Miramanov, Pahal, Brstevich, Kuznetsov, Solovyov to fill out the rest of the decor. I'm like that. Like if your goal is to tank and your goal is to finish near the bottom of the standings, that's a great defense core. Yeah. And I'm all for it. But if your Craig Conroy is to remain competitive and actually make the playoffs, you have to vastly improve that group. So I think it's a great storyline to watch. I don't know how they're going to go about filling out this defense core for next season. If it is re-signing a Joel Hanley or signing a free agent. Even though the free agent group on defense is awful, like, is there a free agent out there?
It's terrible.
Could you sign a guy to a 1 or 2 year deal for massive money? Is there a trade out there for a younger guy like a Bowen Byram? Are there salary cap casualties? Is there an offer sheet candidate like a Nick Hague? Like they got some serious work to do on that back end because it is ugly right now. Outside of Weegar, it's not great. Like Parex's going to be a good player one day. It's just going to be his first year in the NHL. You got to give him time to grow. You can't just put him in a top 4 role. So, that's going to be fascinating.
It's not to be negative about these guys. Like, you like these guys. You like what Solovyov could potentially bring. You like what Kuznetsov could potentially be.
Third pair upside, though.
But it's a lot of could potentially be. A lot of if he develops, can be this type of guys. And right now you're looking at a second pair of Braden Pahal and Jake Bean, and that does not at all put any confidence in anybody. You go to the free agent market and you're looking at guys like Orlov or Petrie, Lindgren's out there, sure. The best guy on that list maybe might be Provorov, and you're just like, none of these guys really move the needle for you if you're trying to be a playoff team. You're looking at trying to make, maybe you are the team that makes the trade for Keandre Miller from the Rangers. Maybe you are the team that offers sheets and Nick Hague, and that's how you go about fixing this. So it'd be very interesting how Craig Conroy approaches this, because the Flames defense right now is just god awful. All due respect to these prospects and what they potentially can be, I think the Wranglers are going to have a terrific defensive group next year with the Solovyovs and the Brusteviches and those guys, and Etienne Morin coming up from junior to join the ranks. Like, that's going to be a great roster. But NHL wise, it's Mackenzie Weegar and the boys. We'll see what they do and what they can accomplish here. Because for me, that's a huge storyline for the Calgary Flames this offseason. What about for you, Robert? What are you looking out for to this offseason here, your storyline?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for me is just like, how does this team get out of the mushy middle? Because you take a look at the rosters currently constructed, and yes, they had a tremendous finish to the season. Their final 18 games of the year were fantastic, and they were one of the best teams in the league. But I don't think they're going to be that group for 82 games next season.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the team. You have a really good goalie. You have a bad defense core as of right now, and then you have a super mediocre forward group. And I just think this team is destined to finish 11th, 10th, or 9th in the West again. And I hate saying that, and I hate being negative, because all I want is for this team to have success eventually. And just the path they're going down, I just don't feel like they're going to get there. I feel like we're in for another 2 decades of what we saw from 2005 to 2013, and then 2015 to 2022. 2015 to 2024, I should say. So I think this team is on the path to mediocrity. I don't see, with this path they're going down, where are they going to find the elite talent? Where are they going to find this next core group of players that's going to push them over the top and be able to win multiple playoff rounds on multiple occasions? And for this upcoming season specifically, like I said, you take a look at the roster, and like it's just super, super mediocre, and it's the worst place to be in hockey. So it's going to be really curious to see how Craig Conroy goes about his business here. With the Rasmus Andersson trade, is he going to go for NHL players? Is he going to go for draft picks? Are they going to be big time players in free agency? Are they going to make a couple big swings on the trade market, or are they just going to run it back? And is Craig going to say, hey, look what we did in the last 18 games. We're a playoff team. So just the whole idea of how do you get away from the mushy middle? Because when you're retooling, it's literally the worst place to be. I don't understand how people just don't that people don't agree with that. I don't get this whole, you got to stay competitive so Connor Zary has a good experience down the stretch drive. What are you talking about? Like, you want to give Connor Zary a good experience? Surround him with elite players that can actually win you a cup one day. That's a great experience. Not having important games, in the last 18 games of the season. Yahoo! We still missed the playoffs, but hey, we all love each other and we have a great culture and we were competitive. Screw that. Win the effing cup. And I just don't know if I see this direction they're going down right now as a way to build a cup contender. And I don't know if you caught the interview that he did with the Barn Burner guys.
I did.
And he said the same things like he said since he started, but at the same time, it's like, we really want to get younger. Like we want to open up spots for, the Sunievs and the Brusteviches and the Pereks. At the same time, we're going after Mitch Marner in free agency.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What's going? Like they're even Connie's confused as to what the hell is going on, because Murray Edwards keeps saying, "Make the goddamn playoffs, or else you're fired." So it's kind of baffling. I don't really like the direction they're going down right now, specifically for this upcoming season. It feels like once again they're going to finish 9th or 10th in the West, and we'll see how they get out of it. And I wonder if that's the.
I messaged you after I listened to the Craig Conroy interview on Barn Burner, and I'm like, this is going to spout some rants. And I'm going to try not to rant, because for me, if the Flames roll it back, it's the same thing over and over and over again, and you're not going to be anywhere. If you roll it back and you just repeat what you tried to do last year, that's an absolute mistake, because you're not doing anything. You're not doing either of the things that you said in that interview. You're not bringing in young players to play, and you're not going out to bring veterans to make this team better. You're doing the same thing again. And that's not going to breed success. That does not breed playoffs. That does not breed a Stanley Cup at the end of the day. And I couldn't care less if Connor Zary then has an exciting game down the stretch with this roster. You didn't bring anything to the table to help them be a competitive team, to be a better team, to push forward the plan here. All you did was rinse and repeat. And rinse and repeat's what got this Flames team in this mess of mediocrity middle. I don't, and I will never understand we won't take a couple of years of pain to have long-term success. It like Murray Edwards works year to year and wants this year's books to balance so that next year's books will also balance, rather than, okay, well, this year was a bit of a down year for me, but the next 5, I have this extra surplus in revenue and extra surplus in players. I don't get that line of thinking, and I never will. Why not take a little bit of a shorter I guess I had a word here. Take a bit of a shorter view here. And
take a step back.
Take a step back. Take a bit of I don't want to say take a bath, because then he's never going to take a bath in his revenue, but take a bit of I only made 1.2 million instead of 3.4 million this year. To have those years where the Oilers announced this year they've broken records of their revenue. The Panthers broke records of their revenue. Like, teams that make your conference finals and above are recording record growth and record revenue. How do you not look at that and want that as an owner, and then trickle that down to your general manager? Like, listen, no, trade Rasmus, find a home for a Nazem Kadri. Let's pull it back a little bit. Keep that culture going. You can have the culture still here, because you've got your veteran leaders there. You still have guys around that can teach these young kids how to be. You're not preaching losing, because you still have those guys here preaching what the culture is and how to be a Calgary Flame. And it's just the roster just won't be good enough to win. And then build from there. Like, why would you not try to do that? We joke about guys like Howard or Skamoskevich, guys we would trade for. Why not bring those type of players in and put them in its success? You think those guys can't help your team play and be competitive? Even if you don't win hockey games, you can still have a competitive team. Like, how fun was San Jose this past year to watch? That team sucked, but they were fun to watch because those players have bought in to what Greer is selling. And that's, I think, what you need to do as a general manager. Create that culture, and you can go from there. And this always going back and rinse and repeating just doesn't make sense for me. So no, don't bring back Joel Hanley. Trade Rasmus Andersson and put yourself on a path to be successful for more than one season at a time. Because the worst thing, Robert, you and I could do next year is sit here and talk about how the Flames finished 9th or 10th in the West, and who can we get at pick number 19 in the draft. That is the worst thing you and I could be doing on this podcast 1 year from now. The best case scenario is we're talking about a top 5 pick, or we're talking about a team that made a Stanley Cup run. But knowing this team and how they're run by their general manager or by their owner, we'll be back here next year talking about pick 18, 19, or 20 and how much we hated watching Kevin Rooney and Joel Hanley play for the Calgary Flames this past year. Until they do something different, that's what I'm going to believe in, because that's all we've seen. So stop it. And so Conroy talks out of both sides of his mouth on that interview with the Barn Burner. You got to pick a path and go for it. So I'm there with you. How do you get out of mediocrity? Make a plan and stick with it, and then execute that plan. And whether that is if they go out and they make like 6 trades and bring in more veteran guys, fine. I know what they're trying to do. Let's make the playoffs then, and let's have a run. Or just build something for the future and get rid of your older guys, bring in some younger players, and let's build something. That's where I'm at. I tried not to rant, but then I got ranting. Sorry, Robert. just I love it. Stop rinsing and repeating. That's all we ask as Flame fans. And I'm not trying to preach team tank here either. And I'm not that guy who wants to just make the playoffs every year either. I just want to watch good, hard playing Calgary Flames hockey that has a light at the end of the tunnel, where we can eventually have a year or two where we can relive 04. We can relive 89. We can do what the Florida Panthers are and start chants at a bar downtown saying, screw the Oilers. That's what I want from the Flames just down the road here. And in the meantime, let's just have something fun to watch.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more with you 100%. And like another thing I hear people always talk about, it's like, well, if you tank, maybe you're going to get Nail Yakupov or you're going to draft Owen Power. Look at the next 2 drafts. They're insane. Like these are like some of the like the with some of the best generational talent available in the draft in the last like 30 years with Gavin McKenna and Landon DuPont. Like those are the types of guys that you bottom out for a couple years. And by all accounts, the 26th draft is supposed to be elite. It's supposed to be fantastic.
Man. There's so many good prospects next year, man. I'm looking forward to like the same team that drafted Yakupov got McDavid. Like
exactly,
you could do both. It doesn't matter. You just have to pick a path. That's where we're online here. It's not about team tank. It's about picking a path here. So if they draft next year, number 1 overall, and you get Gavin McKenna, you mean to tell me you're not excited to watch that guy? Come on.
And even if they don't get Gavin McKenna, they're still going to get a great player. Same thing in 2027. From what I've read, the 2027 draft is supposed to be really good.
Oh, there's some great guys coming. Yeah.
Highlighted by Landon DuPont, Calgary kid. Like, those are the guys that you bottom out for. And now is the time to bottom out. Like, your team is you have a bunch of veterans. You know, you have some decent young players, but, like, you need to surround Wolf and Coronado and those guys and Parekh with more talent. Like, you can't go forward with this group of players and say Cole Reshny is going to be the guy to put us over the top. He might be a nice piece. Don't get me wrong. He might be a good player, but he's not the guy that's going to push you to winning multiple playoff rounds on a consistent basis. Like the Gavin McKennas and Landon DuPonts of the world are those guys. So who cares if you have 2 bad years here? The final 2 years at the Dome, you kind of bottom out. Build some excitement for the new arena. Build that new group of elite players that the Flames fans are going to be able to watch for the next 10 to 15 years. Like, build that. Like, stop with the Connor Zaries, stop with the Matt Coronados, who are good players. Don't get me wrong, they're good. But start building the great players. The Zane Pareks. Like, you need more Zane Pareks. You need more guys that you can pick in the top 5. Like, it's mind-boggling. And actually, once again, I try not to be too negative because like I know like negative coverage is not fun to listen to and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like banging your head against the wall being a fan of this team because it's just the same crap over and over and over again. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I guess we have to give Conroy the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what he does here over the next couple of years. But like, yeah, it's just when you see teams like the Sharks, you know, with Celebrini, and you see teams like the Blackhawks with Bedard and a ton of good prospects behind him. Like those teams have serious futures. Like those teams over the next 10, 12 years, guarantee you those teams win way more playoff rounds than the Flames do if they continue down the path that they're going down. Guarantee it.
Last thing for me before we close out here. Not once during the last 2 Stanley Cup press conferences and on the ice after did the group's guys say, we had a great group of guys. No, we had guys that we went to war with. We have brothers here. We have guys that we would die for. We went together as a group. We were a big pain in the asses to one another. Those are the kind of teams that win. And I love a lot of the Flames we have here. And these are great guys here, but great guys don't win Stanley Cups. They just don't. Teams that are hard and tenacious and have your elite skill, those are the teams that win. You don't win with a group of nice guys with a good culture. It just doesn't happen. And so
I'll push back on that a little bit. Like I think you do need a good culture, but at the same time, you need the elite talent.
Yeah, you need more than just a culture. So having a group of nice guys in a culture doesn't breed winning. You need your elite talent. You need your guys who are hard to play against. So what I'm really trying to get at here is there's the Flames have a good base here, and now they need to build around that base. You have your Coronados, you have your Zaris, you have your Pareks. Now go find the skill to surround those guys with. And where do you find your skill more times than not? In the top 10 of an NHL draft. You don't find it in free agent by signing Ivan Provorov. That's just not how that works, in my opinion. So lots to look out for the Flames for sure this offseason.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be interesting to see what goes down here. That's for sure.
And hey, we might be too negative at the end of the podcast here, but I also call it realistic and knowing what your team is and knowing what you have here and knowing what it takes to win a game. We just watched the Florida Panthers win 2 Stanley Cups with 2 guys that the Flames couldn't make it work with. And so it it kind of puts a little bit of a spur in the saddle and makes you a little bit more fiery when it comes down to these kind of conversations. But it's a good conversation to have. Robert, last word to you. If you have anything else to add to the show here today, or let these folks know where they can find your stuff as well on flamesnation.ca.
Kind of interesting tweet that just came out. Cam Robinson, who's fantastic at Elite Prospects.
Yeah, he's great.
He said, when was the last time this many first-round picks were available? Teams always listen, but this year, fistfuls of clubs are actively trying to move their picks for win-now players. It's the perfect storm, too. Many buyers, not enough sellers, and a slightly underwhelming class. I read that, and I'm like, if I'm the Flames, why am I not selling? Like, everybody should be on the table outside of like your young core, like your Kadris, your Sharon Govich's, Farabee's, Frost, Backlund, Coleman, all those guys should be on the table. Like I read that, I'm like, I wonder if the Flames could get bloody 5 or 6 first-round picks in this year's draft because no one's selling players right now. Like take advantage of that. Like I just read that, I'm like, how are the Flames not a seller right now? It's just mind-boggling to me. So maybe they will. Who knows? Maybe Craig Conroy will surprise us here. But I'm just like, there's literally one seller out there. It's the Pittsburgh Penguins. Why are the Flames not joining that group? Like they should be cashing in on these guys right now.
Yeah, and the Flames can definitely do both, right? Like they can definitely be both a buyer and a seller, right? There's nothing wrong with doing both. So why not take advantage of that market, like you said, Robert? Why not move out your Rasmus Anderssons and maybe a Blake Coleman, and you can still bring in a guy like a Nicholas Hague. You can kind of do both.
A Rossi or something. Yeah, use those picks for those older players and bring in younger guys.
St. Louis has done that a ton where they've sold a bunch of guys off and then flipped those picks around and brought in other guys. We've seen it done before, and it works. They won a Stanley Cup doing it that way. So why not? Like that's a good point by you. That's good. That's a great tweet.
But yeah, no, that's it. We're good. Great episode.
All right.
Great chat.
Follow Robert at Ring of Fire CGY on social media. I'm Vintage Johnny 84 across social media as well. And of course, as always, the show Red Mile Rundown is wherever you do your social mediaing at. We appreciate your downloads, your listens of the show. We'll be back next week to review the Flames draft and potential Rasmus Andersson trade. Stay tuned. Enjoy the draft. It's a great time to be a Flames fan and a hockey fan. See you next week.